Hey guys, this is D Flash, and today we're going to take a look at Monark and creating a analog style bass sound using it. So Monark is Native Instruments analog modeled monosynth. It's modeled after popular monosynths like the Mini Moog. So what we're going to do is create a Mini Moog style bass sound. So to start, we've got our control, our oscillators, our mixer, and our filtered amplitude envelopes. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to go through the bass sound, but at the same time learn a little bit about how it works. So what I'm going to do in Ableton right here is click in some notes, and we'll see. We're going to start with the initialize patch. So if you just go to the user bank and hit init, and we'll hear how that sounds. Not very pretty. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop it down an octave in our tuning section. Okay, it's starting to sound a little bass here. And what we have is our oscillators. So what we're going to do is keep this one at its current waveform, which is a square wave. You have 6 different waveforms. You have triangle, triangle saw, saw, square, narrow pulse, and very narrow pulse, I believe is what they actually call it. So we'll go back to our square wave. And then on oscillator 2, we're going to leave that set to 16, which means that it's going to be tuned an octave higher than oscillator 1. And we're going to turn it on in the mixer section. And then we're going to turn it up to 7 semitones above oscillator 1. So that means that's going to actually be an octave and 7 semitones above oscillator 1. So let's hear how that sounds. Okay, we're getting there. And then we're going to actually turn on oscillator 3. Now, oscillator 3 can be commonly used for 2 different things. It can be used as a noise generator, or it can be used as a modulation source. Today we're going to use it as an oscillator. So we're going to turn that on. And you can see over here, if we wanted to use it as a modulation source, we can actually turn the mix to oscillator 3. And then what we do is, as we turn up the mod wheel, it will modulate either the filter, if we have that turned on, or the oscillators. But for now, we're going to turn that off and just use it for our bass sound. So what we're going to do is we're going to put oscillator 3 in the center, and we're going to keep it at the same octave as oscillator 1, but we're going to turn that to a sawtooth. And then we're going to turn it on in the mixer section, and let's hear how that sounds. Now, there's something a little off about oscillator 3, and that's because key tracking is turned off. If we turn that on, the oscillator is going to actually change in pitch along with the oscillators. There we go. That sounds better. So now we've got our mixer section. We have load, which adds saturation to the mix. And then we have feedback, which creates a feedback loop from the filter back into the mixer. And then we have our noise. We're just going to turn up load for now and just have that going. And then we're going to go over to our filter. Our filter has 4 different modes. We have Mini Moog, Low Pass 2, Low Pass 1, and then Band Pass. We're going to leave it on the Mini Moog's filter, and we're going to bring the cutoff down. Let's hear how that sounds. There we go. Now it's starting to sound like a bass. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring the resonance up. Now what the resonance does is it adds a peak at the point where the cutoff is. It actually is feeding back the signal at the cutoff back into the filter and creates a feedback loop. You can hear it a little more pronounced over here. We're going to leave it turned down, and we're going to bring the cutoff back down. Now we have our contour. The contour controls how the filter envelope affects the filter. The higher up we turn it, the more pronounced that effect is. And then we have our polarity. It can either turn the cutoff up or down, depending on how we have it set. Right now we have it set to up, and as we bring up the envelope, which we have attack, decay, and sustain. Attack is how fast it kicks in. You can hear it's a little more pronounced as we turn it up. And then the decay is how long it takes to get to the sustain level. And then our sustain is how long it, or the volume it reaches after the decay point. So if you're looking at it as a ramp, the attack is the time it goes from the point that you hit the key up to the decay. And then the decay is the time it takes to go from the peak down to where it's going to sustain at. And then the amplitude envelope behaves in the same way. And like I said, the contour is what controls how much of the envelope affects the filter. And then we have key tracking, which if turned on, with the key tracking turned on, the frequency of the filter is affected by the keys that you're pressing or the notes that are being sent to the synth. So if you wanted your filter to be in tune with the oscillators, which could be useful if you have your resonance turned up, you might want the resonance to be in tune with your oscillators, you would turn that on. And these work like kind of like dip switches if you've used them before on computer hardware or something like that, where the different switches affect the amount of key tracking. So if you have them both on, it's 100%. And then I believe if you have one on, it affects it by a third. And then if you have this one on, the bottom one on, it's going to affect it by a half. That may be flipped around or a little differently, but mainly you should use your ears to decide what you want to, how you want it to work. We're just going to leave it off for now. And then you have your release, and your release works with your decay. So the higher you have your decay set, the longer that your release is going to be open, which means when you release the key, how long it takes for the filter to go back down to, I guess, 0 or close, how long it takes for the filter to close. So if your decay is set to 600 milliseconds, then your release is going to be the same. They just work hand in hand. And that's creating a bass sound in Monark. If you have any questions or tips, leave them in the comments. And thanks for checking this out. Make sure you subscribe so that you get the next videos that we post. We'll probably be going through Monark some more and doing some more Ableton tutorials. Thanks for checking it out.